I'll tell a quick story, and a few of you may have heard this one before, and Maze has heard it loads of times. One of the keys to our early success with the Royal Canadian Navy was the fact that we had a user group, and we set the user group up, and all the users were marine engineers, and they were a complete cross section from a recently qualified sailor. Through officers right the way through to a chief petty officer who was within 6 months of retiring after a full career in the Navy. He had hold fast kind of things tattooed on his knuckles like this, like that. Well, he didn't, but that you could imagine it, because he had these big meat cleavers on the end of his hands. And when we got the user group together, we immediately did an assessment of the user group for the first time and thought he would be our hardest sell. He became our biggest advocate. And the reason why he became our biggest advocate was because of some of those things we were talking on earlier on, because we convinced him at a very early stage, this wasn't about IT for IT's sake. This was about introducing technology that would make his job as a supervisor of marine technicians that much easier and more effective, and would mean that he wouldn't have to get hands-on. He wouldn't have to move to the other end of the dockyard or the other end of the ship in order to do his job. And his comment when he finally took it to his first session with a headset, with the HoloLens headset and remote spark, his first comment was, took it off and he said, "With this, I could get a chef, the least skilled person on a ship, to do that job." And that, it was that buy-in at that stage of the people who you would think would be the biggest objectors to change is really important, because it's about them and it's about the work that they represent, and in some cases the life that they've given to creating that work environment, whether that's in a shipyard or it's in a power plant or on an oil rig. They're invested in it, and it's their life, and they've given to it. So bringing them in at that early stage into the discussion as part of the user group about whether this is valid, not only about what it's going to be used for, I think is really important to overcome some of those key pieces. And that group, the results that we got from that initial user group we still resonate with the work that Maze is doing on augmented mixed reality now in Esquimalt.
I think, this what you're also talking about directly or indirectly is demonstrating the value, right? Once you can demonstrate the value to people, you can actually convince them to actually why this matters, right? I mean, the example of a senior petty officer going like, "I can use this directly," is amazing, right? I mean, I'm actually a little bit unusual professor because I actually was part of a startup which actually became market leader like 6 years after it started in the 80s, a long time ago. I'm dating myself now, but and most professors don't have that kind of experience, right? I went afterwards. I went to university, right? But I find from that time I still know how important that is, right? And very mundane bookkeeping software at that time, but very different story.
Really quickly too, because our organization is mostly led, when I say the Navy, and not really D&D, by warfare officers. And really, when you get their buy-in, as Duncan mentioned with Admiral Lloyd, then really a lot of things got moving. Quick example of a small project, augmented reality. It's with actually Bridgeview Engage, and it is augmented reality that gives you an overlay of radar pictures. Right now, it's a company out of Newfoundland. We think it's cool. And at first, the technical staff was like, "Maze, this is not technical. Why are we taking this one on board?" Well, we're actually in charge of naval warfare officer curriculum development, navigation, and whatnot. One of our wicked problems, and I always say solve a wicked problem, and after that, everybody else will probably not fall in line, but kind of potentially jump on board, cross that chasm with you. Well, in this circumstance, Bridgeview and the radar that came with it also had an option to check out oil spills. All right. And we have a statement of operational deficiency to actually be better at oil spill response, as probably every organization should and would. And so now what we're doing this project is literally to do that through augmented reality. If an oil spill actually happens, the technology will hone in using the Rutter radar, an oil spill. All right. Now, the people leading this charge, who are kind of the naysayers, we're actually our naval warfare officers, are the ones setting the requirements. How do these, we call them evolutions, exercises, actually occur? And from that, we're creating a whole sub thing that I never envisioned possible. So we typically call this collision management. right? Where we just collide, techs and people together. And now we're having rah-rah people who frankly were the biggest naysayers of all. Sounds cute, Maze, augmented reality. And, I'm not calling us geeks and nerds, but you know what I mean, right? So now this is actually becoming a thing. And so what I would say is yeah, get it in the hands of people who are ship drivers, really. And frankly, I'm actually more excited about this almost non-technical project than a lot of them, because if it works, oh my God, you put this on a sailor, we're going to find that oil slick, and you provide confidence to people going, yeah, it's gone. The oil slick is gone, or whatever is the case. So yeah, I'll leave that one at that.